What do we talk about when we talk about food? I live in San Diego, America's finest city. What outsiders know about this place is that we have beaches, fish tacos, and beer. We also have year-round sunshine, except today, and a very 70 degrees Christmas at the Hotel del Coronado. But there's a San Diego you may not be familiar with, City Heights. It's a working-class neighborhood east of downtown San Diego. When you go down Choya's Parkway and you drive too fast, which you shouldn't, but if you did, you'd miss this small patch of dark soil right next to it. The freeway disappears in its size and noise when you do. Entering this place is like entering a piece of heaven. 80 plots of land, about 20 by 30 feet in size, are cultivated by immigrants and refugees from all over the world. So when you enter this garden, this is what you see. Sugarcane stalks swaying in the wind. Songbirds sitting on top of banana trees, surveying the land as if it's theirs. Fragrant herbs perfuming the air. And then you may notice the gardeners sitting in their plots of land, talking about the food they grow and the food that they cook in multiple different languages. See, we immigrants, we love talking about food because that's the one thing that connects us back home, home where we come from, even as we make America's finest city our own. According to Cal Matters 2017 and the 2022 Department of Homeland Security Asylum Report, California is the one state that welcomes the most number of refugees for resettlement. And for the past 1 decade, which county has been representing most refugees for resettlement here? It's San Diego County. This is followed by LA and Sacramento counties, and corroborated by state and federal data, so I'm not making this up. This started right around the time of the Vietnam War, when war refugees came in. They were settled in and around the region, and they made the area hospitable for anyone looking for food, safety, and shelter. New Roots Community Farm. It's an organic, sustainable farm that is run by immigrants and refugees from all over the world, but in particular from Africa, Senegal, Somalia, Sudan, Ghana, Zimbabwe, and even Mexico, Honduras, and Cambodia and Vietnam. They grow greens to feed their families. They also grow these greens to sell at local farmers' markets. Greens like kale, banana, marigolds, squashes, zucchini, broccoli. 80-year-old Ermelinda Figueroa, bent, twinkling eyes, wrinkled hands. She's known for how she negotiated with neighbors and city officials to make sure this land was theirs to cultivate, and she grows marigolds for Day of the Dead festivities. Itzai Moaiva, she grows greens that remind her of her native Zimbabwe. During one of my trips to the farm, a young, shy Honduran farmer comes to me, shyly says hi, and hands me this head of lettuce. And then when I try to pay her, she recoils in horror. And this is what would happen in India too, because when you give a gift from the garden, it's a gift from the heart. It's an act of friendship. It's an act of love. So I take it from her and I thank her, and this is why I understand why we try to connect over and over again as immigrants and refugees through food. I am the daughter of refugees. When India was partitioned in 1947, when the colonizing power Britain left, my parents were babies, and they walked and took trains and came to what's now India. And India was divided into India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. I became an immigrant in 1993 when I came to this country as a graduate student with 2 suitcases, traveler's checks, remember those? Hopes and dreams, and a scholarship to graduate school. And any time I missed home, which was all the time, I cooked the food that my mother used to make when I was a little girl. As a young child, I lived in a small neighborhood in South Delhi called Chittaranjan Park. It's a Bengali neighborhood. Try and go there sometime if you can. And we lived in a house that I called the wraparound garden house. In that land that wrapped around the house, Baba, my father, converted that into a vegetable garden, and later on I realized he was trying to recreate his childhood in Dhaka, Bangladesh. We grew capsicum or bell peppers, okra or ladyfingers, brinjal or what you call eggplant, squashes, gourds, chilies, you name it, we grew it all. Baba used to say everything in Bangladesh was bigger, better, and more flavorful. Even the roses were more fragrant. The cauliflower was tasha or tight. And the eggplant was meatier. What he was saying was he missed home, and home was where he grew up. So is this what we talk about when we talk about food? In my little neighborhood of Chittaranjan Park, the little Bengali neighborhood, we had a Market 1. And in that Market 1, the fish section was the talk of the town. Every evening, Baba and I would walk to the market, and the lights were flickering in the dark. The fish glistening in the night, rohu, bhetki, even the sun-dried shutki, river fish glistening, alive, fresh. The fish sellers would be yelling, rohu, magur, hilsa, bhetki, come, check them out. Across the vegetable sellers, didn't want to stay behind, so they clanked their balances, and then they looked at us and then showed their produce. Come on, come to us. The fish sat on top of the ice in between. The burlap separated the ice and the fish, keeping the fish fresh. Baba and I would walk to the market every evening, his hand holding mine tightly, never letting go, but only to take a 10-rupee note out of his pocket, to bargain with the fish seller, or to lift the gills of a fish and then ask me, examine me, test me. What do you think? This is fresh? Do you think this is fresh? Why do you think this is fresh? So by the time I was 8, I knew the difference between rohu and hilsa. I knew the difference between which part of the goat meat to use for a curry versus keema. I even knew the difference between chicken thigh versus chicken breast for a fried rice versus a chicken curry. I looked forward to my evening jaunts to Market 1. That was my childhood. Coming to America, I noticed the abundant affection you guys give each other. Parents throw I love yous to their children like Halloween candy. And then you hug each other, and you genuinely mean it when you do, but that was not my childhood. Baba hugged me when I was a little girl, but I don't remember him doing that growing up. But what he did do was every evening take me back to the market and teach me what his parents had taught him, what his ancestors had taught him. That was his I love you. So is this what we talk about when we talk about food? Back to the community garden. You thought I forgot about them, didn't you? Back to the community garden and the Honduran farmer. I thank her. And I rush back home with my new lettuce head, and I saute some chicken keema, or what you would call ground chicken, with tons of 3 Gs, ginger, garlic, and green chili paste. And then to that, I add a ton of tandoori masala, chaat masala, and then to that, I'll add a little bit of garam masala, maybe a little bit of coriander. I take this intensely Indian creation. To that, I add it to a lettuce wrap, and I steam it in my trusty Indian pressure cooker. And then I take them out after it's steamed, and I saute it with a little bit of oil, and the lettuce wraps are ready, very Indian creation, ready to be served hot with coriander. and coconut chutney. I take this intensely Indian dish back to the gardeners because I want to feed them. So see, even when they give me food that is from their land, I convert it into a dish that is mine. Once an Indian, always an Indian. Once a Bengali, always a Bengali. Food, when it's given as a gift of love, is friendship. It's an act of kindness. So you may be asking me, what does this have to do with me? Generations of my people have lived here. I don't even know where my food comes from. And to that, I ask you, is there a dish your mother made that you love, but you've had to zhuzh it up some and create a dish that's entirely yours? Or have you taken away all rituals and traditions and created a dish that is uniquely you? Because that, too, is a story we'd like to hear. See, we are all travelers, and with us travels our food. And with each dish, we tell our story, where we come from, where we are headed, how we live, and who we love. Thank you.